what do you see here? Looking at the AFC West, I mean, like I said, those three teams separated with two. All of these divisions here, we know about the North because we talk about it here. A game and a half separates everybody there as you got three teams in second place. But there's a nice race coming down with those three teams atop the West over there with Kansas City and San Diego and Denver. Indianapolis looks to be good to go here, but they have to win games down the stretch too, starting with the Browns because they only have a 2-game lead over Houston, who's been coming on a lot lately. We know the North. Literally, that is anybody's ball game. All of the teams separated by a game and a half. They all have 2 wins within the division, and they all play each other. I believe they all play each other twice here over the last 4 weeks of the season, but I know that's the fact for at least 2 of the teams there. Same thing over in, look at the AFC East. As much as New England's trying to pull away, Miami and Buffalo both trying their best not to. I don't see them catching up to either one of those teams there getting involved. But you've got, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 5 teams now, including the Browns, in the AFC. And you've got 5 teams as well with 9 and 8 wins as well. That's 11 teams with 7 wins or better in the AFC.
And I guarantee you that right now, as we say that on Tuesday afternoon, Rex Ryan is kicking himself in the rear end, saying, "We could have been one of those 7 and 5 teams."
I mean, look at the delineation. You have 11 teams 7 and 5 or better. And that's it. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 2 and 10 teams and a 1 and 11 team. That's it. You have 11 competitive teams and 4 of the top 5 draft picks coming up this year. That's it in the AFC. What a crazy split like that, you know?
You know, and that is exactly what Pete Rozelle and Val Pinchback were going for in the 1970s when they came up with the computer algorithm that picks who plays who, the so-called Pete's parity rule, the scheduling rule. This is exactly what they were going for. 11 teams competitive in the final month of the season.
I mean, really, absolutely. And then you look at the NFC, there's still a lot of competition, but nowhere near as much just because you've got several other teams that are pushed back. But even there, look, I mentioned earlier in the show, I just think it's ridiculous. Hey, this is nothing that a rule change can fix because divisions have to be respected and the winner of divisions have to get the bye in the playoffs. I'm with that. I don't believe that you should win your division and not get the bye even if other teams have a better record. But, man, the fact that it would take a miracle, but Tampa Bay is 2-10, and they are as close to a playoff spot and a home playoff game as they are to the number 1 pick in the draft because of that miserable NFC South where technically Tampa Bay at 2-10 is only 3 games out of first place with 4 to play.
Yeah, and when you look at what's going on, there are going to be people that are howling for this rule to be changed. But I agree, you have to respect the division lines. And, of course, one guy who benefits from that is Sean Payton because he's saying, hey, I could still win the division and you can't fire me even though I'm under 500 because I won the division.
Absolutely, you know, and I'll tell you what, keep an eye on Carolina for the same reason that I mentioned the team that they tied with earlier in the season, Cincinnati. That tie is a half game where, you know, that could be the difference. And Carolina sits there a game and a half back because of that tie in that division. Wouldn't it be something if they sneak in there and take that thing at the end? But either way, that's just a bad division. And part of that correlates to why there's 11 teams in the AFC with 7 or more victories is because the North played the South. So you have those teams, except for Pittsburgh, who wasn't very successful against the South, but the rest of the North cleaned up there, and that's part of the counter there too. But looking around, you've got some good races. Philly and Dallas, they're only 2 teams on the field, and clearly, at least on that day, there was more than a game separation between those 2 teams. We saw them hook up on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even if Dallas gets a wild card, you know, and makes the playoffs, this is going to be difficult for them to get past the first round with all the things that they're concerned about and dealing with, injuries also, whether or not Tony Romo, the biggest issue, whether or not Tony Romo can play with that back situation. You know, the Eagles are telling everybody, hey, we're the strongest team. They're making the argument for, hey, we're the strongest team in the NFL right now. Whether Chip Kelly believes that or not, whether the Eagle fans believe that or not, you're gonna see what a playoff team is really made of when the Eagles get to the playoffs. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they're playing either Seattle or somebody else, maybe even Arizona, in the conference championship game. And obviously, I know you're going to ask me about Arizona's drop-off the last few games, but let's face it, when Larry Fitzgerald was hurt, when your quarterback, you're playing a rotating quarterback tree, when you got offensive linemen hurt, this is what happens. You win 9 games the first 10 weeks, and then the last 6 weeks, you're kind of up in the air juggling, are we really this good a team?
Yeah, and they've got a tough road here coming down the stretch, too, for Arizona. Going to be interesting to see if they can hold off the Seahawks. And, of course, the Niners are there as well in that conversation. 2 games separate those 3 teams there. Going to be interesting to see. You mentioned Dallas. If the season ended today, they wouldn't make they're 8-4, but they'd miss the playoffs. Because
That's right.
Because of the tiebreakers.
That's right. They'd miss
there.
the playoffs.
But,
that's right. They'd be out.
Yeah, absolutely. But all 3 of these divisions, the division becomes the key because somebody's going to miss out because of the win-loss records of the second-place teams. You've got the 1-game separation in the East. We talked about the West. You've got 2 games separating Arizona, Seattle, San Francisco, and then same thing in the North where you've got Green Bay and Detroit just a game back. And technically, Chicago and Minnesota are 3 games back there of Detroit. So, I mean, they're out, but I mean that's 4 games with 4 to play. That's very, very outside looking in. But you've got Green Bay and Detroit there, so the South doesn't have to worry about getting a wild card team in there. But you're going to get your 4 division winners, and then you're going to have 3. I'm thinking again, both sides this season may have a double-digit team that does not make the playoffs because of the way things break down.
Yeah, and don't be surprised, if the Cardinals have a little bit of an issue this week with the Chiefs, because we saw that they were able to stay in the game the other night. Even though they did come up on the losing end, they were not dead to the world until the 4th period. Alex Smith kept them in the game. The coaching, Andy Reid kept them in the game coaching-wise. I would think that they're going to give the Cardinals plenty of trouble this week.
Yeah, that there's some issues there in the passing game. I think they've got to get some more weapons there. Dwayne Bowe's been this season, but I think I'm with you there. Of course I've always been an Andy Reid guy. I've always liked Kansas City. Got a soft spot. I wish they would have pulled that game out the other day just to tighten that thing up a bit more over there in the West. I was joking. I said it on the show. That stat that they showed about Kansas City's success the last few years against everybody else, and then against Denver in the division there, and Peyton Manning, the Achilles heel for those guys there. But it's going to be a lot of fun, man, to watch this last month of the season. As you said, the Frankenstein parody experiment that Rozelle started back in the day has come to fruition. I don't know if the NFL even anticipated it being like this, but it's clearly what they wanted, and it's hey, look, it is a lot of fun in that instance, in the AFC, it's not even like manufactured parody by adding an additional, because they've had the same playoff structure for a while here. It's not even that manufactured parody like baseball by adding the additional wild card play-in game there. You just have 11 teams that are on the verge of 500 or better all at the same time. And of course, for every season like that, you'll have the counter where you have a bunch of teams on the other side too. But with the exception of Oakland, Tennessee, Jacksonville, and the New York Jets, every team in the AFC can make the playoffs. That's amazing. Amazing stat right there with 4 weeks to play. Definition of parity. And last thing, Dr. Football, you mentioned it before we get ready to go. You mentioned his name earlier, but of course the NFL Ray Rice situation continued to evolve as he's now technically reinstated, immediately allowed to play. But I was asking John McMullen yesterday, I'll ask you the same thing. I don't care. You can tell me that some teams looking and some teams interested. To me, not a chance. He is so radioactive. There's not a chance, even if you think he could win you a football game, which I don't think there's a team out there that thinks he can help you win a football game this year that's going to touch Ray Rice.
I would be very surprised if he found himself with a contract during the remainder of 2014, just because the team wanted to add him because he might give them the edge in the playoffs. I don't think that happens. Now, that in itself may be collusion between the owners, and, they may be saying his agent, well, we're going to sign it for 2015, and that's just the way it is. The purist in me says I don't know if that's really legal either, but he would be in his best interest. It would be in his best interest if, now that he's won his case, so to speak, and he's been reinstated, that he took the rest of the year off and worked on, his relationship with Janae and rebuilding his public image, to me would be more important than whether or not he gets on the field and maybe only gets a couple of plays because he's just not in game shape.
No, I'm with you, my man, and I agree 100%. I mean, people talked about Josh Gordon. What shape would he be in? Hitting the ground, running there as well. What you just said is the speech any team, if I was any general manager, that's the speech I would give to him if he called me. You know what? Let's talk next year. Right now, focus on what you got to do. I just can't see any team. Now, next year, some team will bite the bullet. Absolutely. I have no doubt that he will get the opportunity to play in the NFL again next year. I just think this year, any team, here's the thing. If he brought game-changing talent immediately, then maybe a team would say, you know what? We could win the Super Bowl if we bring this guy in. It's worth the backlash. But he doesn't, and therefore, what tiny little bit of help he brings you in the backfield, if any, because I don't think it's any, because he's old and he hasn't played. Now, I'm not saying he can't get back in game shape, but he's not there today, and he won't be there in the next 4 weeks. There's no way that's worth anything. You don't touch him. He doesn't deserve it, but I'm not even looking at it from that. I'm looking at it from the business perspective. No way a general manager touches that guy. If they do, they're probably not a very intelligent one. So saying that, some team will sign him tomorrow and make me look genius, but I don't think they will, nor do I think they should. Dr. Football, my man. Great conversation. We made it through 36 minutes and 42 seconds with no
There you go, brother.
Man. So there we go. Thank you very much for the call, and we'll catch up next week.
Just before I get out of here, I want to say really quick again what a great article LG wrote on Cleveland Sports 360 yesterday that I read this morning before we got on the air. And definitely I agree with where he stands as far, and you do too, obviously, where the Browns stand right now. I really would not be, this is not blackjack in the casino in Laughlin, Nevada or in Vegas. This is you're playing with an NFL franchise and what their outlook is going to be the next 3 years over this next month. You leave the guy in there that, you keep dancing with the guy that brought you there. And I could see if he got hurt and he was done for the season, if there wouldn't be a chance for him to come back in the playoffs, then obviously you got to hand it to Manziel and let him do what he's going to do. But there's no reason for that right now.
Brother,
there just really isn't.
I'm with you, and I'll just go back to what I said earlier. This conversation changes on Monday very quickly, so let it play itself out naturally. It really could answer itself and be very, very cut and dry here in a couple of days. I would, like you said, dance with who brung you this week and let him answer his own question. And it makes the organization, it just makes this easier on everybody and seamless, because it's the difference between a bumpy start, being the hero, and nobody caring what you do because they're just happy to see Johnny football. So let's see how the Browns play this. But I believe Mike Pettine left that door wide open yesterday. We'll talk about that. Bill, have a good one. Look forward to next Tuesday because we'll have, I think, some stuff to talk about.
I think so, man. And I'll text you on Sunday during the games, and we'll talk next week. You have a good one.
Absolutely. You too. My man, Dr. Football. You guys can tweet with him, as always, at Ask Dr. Football. Ask Dr. Football. Let's take a break. When we come back, Doug Plagens, the voice of the Lake Erie Monsters, joins us here. Coming up next here. Get out of here, Bruce. Give him a chance to save the season. See? That's the mindset that's screwed up right there. That's what I mean. Some people are convinced that the Savior has been on the sidelines all along. Brother, if he was the Savior, he wouldn't have been on the sidelines. Now, if you want to argue that the Browns don't have any good quarterbacks, that may be a better one to have right now than to say that the man who walks on water has been turning water to wine on the sidelines waiting for his turn. But we'll talk some more more about that. And we'll talk some hockey. Coming up next, Lake Erie Monsters hockey with Doug Plagens, the voice of the Monsters. Coming up next, don't